So we will discuss about the user interface design process. In that, first we'll be studying about the obstacles and pitfalls in development path, designing for the people, the 5 commandments, and usability. In the usability, we'll be studying about assessment in design process, common usability problem, some practical measures of usability, some objective measures of usability. So these are different stages of design process. In that we have the requirement discovery, and then after obtaining the requirements we'll go with respect to what conceptual design. So after going with respect to conceptual design, we are trying to categorize that into logical and physical design. So after designing, we'll go with respect to what the implementation, and then the final stage is nothing but what we are trying to deliver the design. So there are some of the steps in user interface development. There are 14 steps. Step 1 is know your user or client. You should know your user or client. Second step is understand the basic business function. Next is understand the principles of good screen design. Develop system menus and navigation schemes. Select the proper kinds of windows. Select the proper device based control. Choose the proper screen based controls. Write clear text and messages. Provide effective feedback and guidance and assistance. Provide effective internationalization and accessibility. Create meaningful graphics, icons and images. Choose the proper colors. Organize and lay out the windows and pages. And the final stage is nothing but test, and then retest. So whenever we are trying to develop the project or any designing, the same process we'll try to follow. First is we are going with respect to what the requirement phase, then we'll go with respect to the designing phase, then we'll go with respect to the implementation, then we'll try to release the product. The same phases we are going to go with respect to. So in this phases we are trying to analyze with respect to what the graphical interface design. So first we'll try to understand what are the obstacles and the pitfalls that we face during the design process. So basically here we are trying to know what are the initial obstacle that you faces. So here one person called as Gold in 1988, he made several observations regarding the pitfalls that he faced with respect to what design. So these are the pitfalls, or we call it as these are the general observation that Gold has made with respect to what the obstacle that he has faced with respect to the development. So in that we have the first obstacle as nobody ever gets it right the first time. Development is a choke full of surprises. Good design requires living in a sea of changes. Making contract to ignore change will never eliminate the need for change. Even if we have made the best system humanly possible, people will still make mistake when using it. And next is designer need good tools. You must have a behavioral design goals like performance design goals. So let us see one by one what are the obstacles. That means what are the observation he has made, which is called as obstacle in the development path. First one is nobody ever gets it right the first time. So you can see on the screen we have the different designing of the Facebook over the period of time. So here what they are trying to tell means whenever we do any particular work, at the first instance or the first time itself we will not get it done perfectly. So we have to make lot of changes to that when we give that particular design with respect to the user, what feedback they give, we based on that will make some changes, and one fine day we may get some a good design that might be accepted by what everybody. That is called as nobody ever gets it right first time. Next is development is chock full of surprises. So the name only tells development is chock full of surprises. So when if you take a best example of the mobile, so we have seen that we have a single product with respect to what various version. When you go with respect to various version, it indicates that each time when a new version of the mobile is released, it is having some additional feature which was not there with respect to what the previous one. So what does it indicate means we cannot expect what might be the next version might be. So it might be still more magnified, still more accurate in performance. So that is called a development is chock full of surprises. Next is good design requires living in sea of changes. So obviously, so when we want to develop something perfectly, we have to go with respect to what various changes. So until unless we get a good product, we have to continue with the same process for infinite time or for certain iterations. So what are the stages that you go? That is, if we take a graphical user interface, we'll go with respect to what? GUI requirement specification, GUI user analysis, GUI task analysis, GUI design and implementation, and GUI testing. Next observation is making the contracts to ignore a change will never eliminate the need for the change. So initially, obviously we know that we would have stated when we are trying to develop any design, we will state based on the application, this might be the objective, this might be the goal. It doesn't mean that we have done the contract, we have stated some statement. It doesn't mean that we cannot modify it at the end, or it doesn't mean that we cannot make a changes. As I told, since it is over a period of time we are going to do the designing or the development, we may get constantly feedback from the user who wants still more advanced feature that might be added, which was not present in the beginning, which was done with respect to what the contract. So we cannot eliminate the need for change. It keeps on changing until we get the final product at any point of time. Even if you have made the best system humanly possible, people will still find mistakes when using it. So obviously humans are, so there are many props, like we cannot satisfy the human beings. So whatever the product you have developed, they will feel something is missing, something new feature would have been added in that. Still more you would have, like your system or design what you have done, it would have been accurate. So we cannot satisfy the human beings. Obviously they'll find some mistake in that. Next is designers need good tools. So obviously when we want to develop something perfectly with accurate and which gains some good profit, we have to use a good tools for that, for the designing. It can be in terms of prototypes, it can be in terms of what experienced people involved in the design, or various things. That is called as designer needs good tools. Next observation is you must have behavioral design goals like performance design goals. So obviously it is not only in terms of when you are trying to do with respect to what developing a design for developing a GUI or web-based any interfaces. You should not only talk in terms of what performance. You have to think, you have to do the design in such a way that what is the benefit of that design to the user, how your design is different from the others. Everything we cannot judge only in terms of performance or profit. We should think about even other factors also. It might be in terms of the what is the best you get from that particular design, how it is helpful for the society, something like that. We have to analyze it. So this is about the